There's a joke in the Asian community that our childhoods were basically an unpaid internship for the entry-level position known as the perfect child. We joke about the hyperfixation on grades, the competitive comparison to our cousins, and the way our parents apologize with a silent plate of cut fruit instead of actual words. We laugh at the memes because honestly, humor is the easiest way to cope with collective trauma. But if we peel back the layers of the jokes, what's left underneath isn't actually that funny. Growing up in the traditional Asian household often means signing an invisible contract before you're even old enough to read. A contract that states, we will sacrifice everything for your future, our youth, our comfort, our money, and in return you owe us your complete obedience, your career choices, and your emotional autonomy. For the longest time, I thought this suffocating pressure was just the culture. I thought that loving your parents meant putting your own mental health on the line to buy their approval. But as an adult, I've had to face a hard, uncomfortable truth. There is a massive difference between a cultural value and emotional toxicity. Today we're going to talk about the dark side of Asian parenting we're conditioned to keep quiet. The moving goalpost, the conditional love, the complete lack of boundaries, and the incredible heavy tax it takes on our adult lives. Because the truth is, you can love your family, but you shouldn't have to destroy yourself to pay back a debt you never asked to borrow. Let's start with the foundation of the modern Asian upbringing, the hyperfixation on external metrics. Your GPA, the rank of your school, and eventually, the exact prestige of your job title. Historically, this comes from a place of survival. For our parents or grandparents, stability and institutional prestige were the only insurance policies against poverty. But here is where the toxicity creeps in. When that raw survival mindset gets passed down to a generation that isn't actively starving, it mutates. It stops being about financial security and starts being about parental ego and bragging rights. Think about how many times you sat at a dinner table while your parents actively weaponized another kid's success against you. Oh, did you hear that Auntie Lily's son just got into medical school? Why can't you study like him? When a child hears this repeatedly, their brain internalizes a terrifying, conditional message. I'm only valuable when I am performing. If I am not at the top, I am completely unlovable. This creates a specific type of adult, high-achieving perfectionists who suffer from chronic imposter syndrome. You could build a successful career or business, and you still won't feel a drop of satisfaction. You've been conditioned to believe that rest is a sin, and if you aren't actively burning yourself out, you're falling. Then there's the ultimate cultural trump card that stops any healthy boundary dead in its tracks. Filial piety. Culturally, respecting your elders and caring for your parents is a beautiful communal value. But in a toxic family dynamic, filial piety is twisted into a blank check for absolute, unquestioned obedience. In this dynamic, you are not allowed to voice a boundary or an independent opinion. The exact second you try to stand up for yourself, even if you say it calmly like, hey, when you criticize my weight or my career choices, it really hurts my feelings, the narrative instantly flips. Suddenly, you are the villain. You are the ungrateful, westernized child. The script is incredibly predictable. We sacrificed everything for you. We worked 12-hour days, we gave up our youth so you could have a life, and this is how you talk to us? This shifts the focus entirely away from their harmful behavior and places the blame on your reaction to it. It forces you into a state of permanent emotional debt. You learn that to keep the peace, you have to completely abandon yourself. You swallow your anger, and over a decade or two, that suppressed anger turns inwards, mutating into a deep-seated anxiety and depression. This brings us to the emotional environment. Inside a toxic Asian household, mental health is often treated as a fiction. If you tell your parents you're depressed, that means you're just lazy. If you have anxiety, you're told you are weak-minded or spending too much time on your phone. Vulnerability is banned. Yet while your emotions are strictly policed, the parents' emotions are completely unregulated. Volcanic rage, slamming doors, or an icy silent treatment that lasts for weeks, these behaviors are accepted because they are the authority. But the moment you cry, you are told to stop acting out or giving them attitude. Because vulnerability is forbidden, love is almost never verbalized. You don't grow up hearing, I love you, or I'm sorry. Instead, the emotional repair happens through a completely silent proxy ritual, the cut fruit apology. After a massive argument where words were said that tore your self-esteem to shreds, your parent will walk into your room an hour later and suddenly place a plate of perfectly sliced mangoes or watermelon on your desk. Then they walk out without saying a word. For a generation that survived scarcity, food was care. But let's be honest, as adults, a plate of cut fruit does not heal the psychological wound of being told that you're a disappointment. It isn't a real apology, it's a substitute for accountability. It's an easy way to sweep toxic behavior under the rug without ever having to say the hard, uncomfortable words, "I hurt you and I am sorry." The core issue underneath all of this is that toxic parents view their children as an extension of themselves, a second chance to live out the status or career they never got to have. Because of that, they try to ghostwrite your entire life, and if you deviate from their pre-approved script to find your own authentic path, it's treated as a personal betrayal. But here is the painful realization you eventually hit. The goalpost will always move. If you chase their approval, you are running a race with a finish line that keeps receding. If this is your life, I want to tell you two things. First, you are completely allowed to love your parents and still acknowledge that they deeply hurt you. Recognizing damage doesn't make you ungrateful, it makes you honest. Second, setting a firm boundary does not make you a bad child. It makes you an emotionally healthy adult. Protecting your peace of mind is a basic requirement for your psychological survival. We cannot change our parents. They operated on their own unhealed generational trauma. But while we cannot rewrite their past, we have absolute control over our future. We can be the generation that stops the emotional debt from being handed down, and we can break the cycle. Anyway, thank you for watching. If you lived through this dynamic, then please make sure to leave a comment below and share how you've learned to navigate boundaries. Let's talk about it down there. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video.